You're an outside belly. I'm John Fredericks, and I'm your blowtorch of free speech in America. And thanks for being with us, as always. Rocking and rolling live in D.C. Michael Patrick Lay is going to be here live the 9 o'clock hour. Then he's going to be doing his show from here in our studios in D.C. And we got Phill Kline coming up. We got phone calls. Let's go right to John in New Jersey. Johnny, you're live.
Hey, John, how you doing, buddy?
What's up?
You know, the Marjorie Taylor Greene thing, I hate to call in and start piling on, but I've been critical of her for a while now because for one reason, she is one of those politicians that kind of get under my skin because they're blowhards. They're like the Jim Jordan types. They talk a great game, but if you look at their track record, they never get anything actually done. And, you know, I started noticing that with her, especially with the McCarthy stuff. She talks, you know, I'm going to do this, that, and never does anything. It's like Jim Jordan, never does anything. But the bottom line is, through this whole thing, I kind of tolerated her because her messaging was there. She backed Trump. So, you know, you figured she was some sort of an asset because, you know, she had a following, whatever the case may be. But I got to tell you, through this whole thing, the one I'm really impressed with, the one who has been critical of her, and I mean super critical of her from day one, or actually for a long time now, has been Laura Loomer. And I kind of separated, I just couldn't understand why she was so zeroed in on Marjorie Taylor Greene, like, you know, because she's very critical of her for years now. And she nailed it. I mean, you know, to get up there and to work this Epstein thing, I mean, yeah, these women, I feel bad, but this is a political hoax at this point. People are, you know, they start losing sight of the reality. You know, it's the women, the victims of this thing that suffer, but you get these politicians that are using it for political gain. It's sickening at this point. So that's why I believe it was the right thing for Trump. Just get it out there, throw it out there, and now she has nowhere to go with it. So, you know, what I'm anxious to see is where she's going to go next, because it's just going to be more vitriol. She's playing into that. You know, right now people are very upset with the president because they feel he's not focusing on domestic issues. And I guarantee she's going to play into that. The bottom line is she's correct in that sense. And hopefully he does do a course correction. Because if he doesn't, I mean, you know, we're going to end up with a country that looks like Virginia when it comes to the midterms. I mean, you know, Youngkin left Virginia scorched earth. I'm just praying Trump doesn't do the same thing. So, you know, but I think he's smart enough to understand what he has to do here.
Would you say scorched earth? All right, John, you nailed it. Yeah, Virginia's a mess. There's no question about that. This thing is a mess. Yep, you got that right. All right, John, are you still there, or did you drop? I think you dropped.
I'm here. Okay. I'm definitely here. You know, but like I said, I'm very.
I agree with everything you're saying. You absolutely nailed it. And Loomer, I just texted her while you were talking, said you were a big hit yesterday. Why don't you come back on tomorrow and take calls? And because she nailed it. Look, you got to give credit where it's due. She's been railing on Marjorie Taylor Greene forever, for years. And she is the one that coined Marjorie Taylor Greene. And now it seems to fit. And I thought her comments yesterday, you can't come back from those. You know, it's like, you know, you're in a marriage, you know, sometimes, you know, things go down, you're trying to reconcile. And if you do or say something, there's certain things you do or say you just can't come back from. That's basically what you did. So, you know, see ya. Hope things work out. Good luck in Iowa getting your 3% of the vote. So thank you, Johnny. Thank you. Always good to hear from John in Jersey. Joining me now, Professor Phill Kline, Liberty University law professor, former AG, Kansas, and I bet the Chiefs Sunday -3, took the pipe on that game down to Tuberinos. So, and then actually I was going to bet Dallas. What was it, Monday night? I forgot. I don't think I've ever done that. I just I said, yeah, I got to put in my wager. I got to go to the kiosk, and I forgot. And all of a sudden, it's like 8:15, and I'm like, shoot. So, should have had that winner, but it happens. But I had a hockey winner last night, so I'm in a good mood. Chicago Blackhawks, baby. It's my team right now. They're rolling. Beat Calgary, even money. Nice little win there. Phill Kline, good to have you with us. The Chiefs might not make. We can talk politics.
Good to be with you, John.
Chief, I don't think the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs, dude. Then what are you going to do?
Yeah,
they'll be like the third wild
We've got
card.
to do it on the. We've got to do it on the road.
Well, Denver.
Yeah, it's not
Denver. Okay, I was not a believer in Denver. I'm not a believer, but that defense is real. I mean that they got to have the best defense right now in the NFL. That Broncos defense is for real. What they sack them like 5 times is unbelievable, and Kansas City has a good defense.
What's really a concern? What's really a concern is our pre-snap penalties. We reel ourselves with bonehead penalties. So,
well, the one play where they had
enough of that, John.
Well, they had gone ahead and they got the ball back, and they made a first down, and then it was like ineligible receiver, which instead of a 15-yard gain of first down, put him, 2nd and 15, kill that drive, and had they scored again and gone up by 2 scores, that game's over because Denver has no ability to come back. So that stuff hurt them. All right, we're going to have you on for a couple segments. We got FAF coming up. I know you want to talk about affordability. You have the floor, Professor Kline. Go ahead.
Well, a couple of things to keep in mind here. Yeah, John, can you hear me?
Yes.
A couple of things to keep in mind. First of all, this problem has been brewing for a long time. If you want to address affordability, you've got to fully get behind efforts to cut government spending and eliminate programs and support the president and Republicans in Congress to do so. From 1950s to 1970s, wages grew in America significantly. As productivity rose, American wages rose. But then President Nixon, during a period of high inflation, dramatically increased government spending. And through that, he benefited government by inflation, a hidden tax, and wages started to decline in the United States. From the 70s to the 90s, real family wages declined, even during the time that women entered the workforce. Because women entered the workforce, government took all that additional taxation when costs to families went up through both spouses working, through childcare, through all of those things. Government still consumed all of that growth in income. So government benefited from inflation and from women entering the workforce, and families began to get squeezed. This continued. It was relatively flat, but what happened next is technology dramatically increased productivity in the United States, but families didn't benefit. Corporations and owners benefited, and wages continued to fall behind. Now we have all of this consumption in government, all of this heavy burden on American families. Now, for example, John, in 2024, the world spent about $2.4 trillion on Green New Deals. Europe, in many ways, has bought wholesale in. Fortunately, Trump is reining it back. But let me give you an example. In the European Union right now, the average monthly tax bill, electricity bill is about $300 a month. In the United States, it's half that. Biden was pushing us that direction. Trump is dismantling that. These subsidies and so forth, many of which have gone to Democratic operatives, and the policies have been funded by foreign billionaires who've profited on this, is one of the biggest scams that we've seen in world history, as well as COVID, that has pushed a dramatic shift in wealth. So honestly, if you're interested in affordability, you got to get behind downsizing government and letting the market work within the United States and let Americans have more of their hard-earned income.
I mean, when you look at wages, inflation, everything that's going on, and the government consumption that's part of it, If you look at what Mandami was sold himself as, it was basically you're going to get more money in your pocket. You're going to be able to afford things. The message, if you look at the message of Mandami, the message was spot on. The solutions are failures because he's a communist, right? So everything he does is going to fail. The city's going to go bankrupt. Everybody's going to move out. And at the end of the day, somebody's going to have to bail them out or there's no city, right? So this whole thing is for him is going to fail. But if you go to his message, right, it was very disciplined and it resonated with people because he said, you're paying too much. You need a better life. It almost goes back to the guy that ran with the white gloves on in New York City for mayor on the party. The rent is too damn high. I mean, but he doesn't have the solution. What you just laid out is the solution. The government consumption, which is sucking us dry, is really what is at the core, Phill, of non-affordability, right?
Yeah, that's a key part of it. You know, on average, nationally, the average new home cost of a new home, 15 to 25% is regulatory. In California, it's 30 to 50%. That's regulatory. So we have this high burden in many ways that are placed on families. There is an issue, John, that the government needs to address here, and that is how productivity is dramatically increased with technology, but wages have not. And you see kind of a slice of that in, for example, the stock market. You see some issues growing with the stock market where the average trader, you know, Americans and families can now get on and do day trading or invest themselves into the stock market. But their cost of entry is now growing significantly because you have wealthy influencers who are trading with algorithms that are outpacing what an individual can do. So there is still this sucking motion that's occurring with the increase of productivity away from wages and away from workers that need to be addressed. But certainly, socialism has been shown to be a failure. In fact, big government in America is a failure, and we need to tighten the reins, allow more families to have more of their hard-earned wages and build for their own future.
So when we get back, we know the problem, affordability. Let's talk about the solutions. We're also going to talk about the Texas map debacle and what we do there. All coming up. Jim Pfaff will be joining us, God willing.